Nearly 800 families in New Mexico right now are about to have their finances turned upside down.
Can you tell me, Jan, how much you guys have overpaid?
No, as I told you, we're in the process of looking at all of the 764 checks that had interest in July and August.
This is Jan Goodwin. She's the executive director of New Mexico's ERB. Goodwin admitted to Target 7 earlier this week a so-called computer glitch caused them to overpay retiring teachers and other school employees last July and August.
Have you asked for the money back?
Yes.
Have you received the money back?
Yes.
That was Tuesday. Today, Target 7 found out ERB has actually done nothing to collect the overpayments, which could reach into the millions. New information shared with us today shows one person received $259,000 in interest alone.
It should have been closer to $60,000.
Another person, for instance, made a contribution of less than $10,000, yet on August 23rd got a check including more than $118,000 in interest. Neither of these school retirees have any idea that money might not be theirs.
Are you going to be asking for that money back?
Yes, we have to.
Not so fast, says Goodwin's colleague Chris Schatzman. He's the ERB's legal counsel. He says it may depend on how much retirees received in error, whether ERB will go after them or not.
I can't advise spending more money to recover an individual refund, an overpayment on an individual refund, than is greater than the amount of overpayment made.
So how did this so-called computer glitch even happen? The ERB decided to update the way it calculates interest last June. They knew it could mean higher interest payments starting July, but what they got was over the top.
How did you not catch this?
Well, we were told to expect higher interest, and we got higher interest.
Common sense would tell you that's not right.
Well, there's a lot of other factors that go on.
Goodwin even admits employees came to them concerned with how large some of the checks were. Still, no action was taken until finally a $500,000 interest check had them shut the whole system down for 3 months. Goodwin says she assumed the other checks had been investigated too.
Does the governor know about this right now?
No, she does not.
Well, she knows now. We came to Governor Susana Martinez with our findings. Needless to say, she was outraged.
It's outrageous, number one. Number two, they have to step up and explain it to the board, explain it to the public, and they have to figure out how they're going to, one, unravel it completely, explain it to the taxpayer, and get that money back.
Good morning.
The chairman of the ERB had a cheerful tone when Friday's meeting started, though the mood was anything but.
I would like to request that we have an emergency board meeting within the next week, if possible, to get a more detailed update on what has transpired.
Target 7 broke the story that the ERB sent out what could amount to be millions of dollars in mistaken payments to public school retirees last year and has done nothing to get that taxpayer money back. There was no discussion about this mess in today's board meeting. That's because when a public board meets, by law, it has to notify the public as to what they're going to talk about. Since Target 7 just broke the story last night, there was no time for notification. Just this.
We will be requesting an emergency meeting to address that in the future.
That didn't stop board members from sharing their disgust over the situation with Target 7 outside the meeting. Like other board members, ERB Vice Chair Russell Goff says our investigation was the first time he'd ever heard there was even a problem.
Seems like it goes back several months, and we need to find out the details. And so it's just concerns I have, questions I have that I need to have answered.
Now, when that emergency meeting will be, it's unclear at this point. The state treasurer tells us he wants to see one within days, but the executive director says they want to wait till all the audits are finished before the meeting. That could be weeks.
This board is very concerned. We are going to take a look at it, and we're going to investigate it and try to find out what has taken place and try to provide the answers to our membership, to taxpayers.
For most of the 6-person Educational Retirement Board, news that their agency paid members up to millions of dollars by mistake came as a complete and utter shock.
It was appalling. I was unaware of it.
Obviously, I think as a board member, very concerned as to what your program showed last night.
Target 7 broke this case wide open, breaking the news to the state treasurer, board members, even the governor. Our tough questions and prodding led the agency's director, Jan Goodwin, to admit last week she knew her agency had made some huge mistakes overpaying members, but we uncovered they'd done absolutely nothing to get the money back or alert members of a problem.
Currently, right now, there's somebody at home with a $259,000 check that they've likely already cashed, that they shouldn't have gotten that money. Have you told them about this?
We just found out about it last night. We are in the process of recalculating every single check that had interest for those 2 months, and then we will be notifying the people that they've received, if they've received an overpayment.
Because of our investigation, the ERB is a few days into a massive audit of nearly 800 checks from last July and August to see who got overpaid and by how much. Now we've learned on May 23rd, board members will discuss how or even if they'll ask for the money back. The ERB says the overpayments came because of a miscalculation of interest that they eventually caught.
Were you aware of any of this was going on?
We were aware and we had assumed it had been addressed.
It's obvious now because of our investigation, it had not. For Target 7, I'm Lauren Zakalik.
Of course it appears more suspect, and it should appear more suspect.
Governor Susana Martinez is furious. Our Target 7 investigation was the first she'd heard of the shocking situation at the ERB. The board has admitted to mistakenly sending out bloated interest checks to public school retirees, possibly in the millions. And now they may be asking teachers to pay that money back.
And we're going to have to take back that money. Those are dollars that were not owed to those individuals.
Governor Martinez takes special issue with the fact there were numerous red flags that the payments were wrong, including concerns voiced by employees and a $500,000 interest check that almost went out. The ERB did stop interest payments for 3 months while they fixed things. The governor wonders, why didn't they realize the errors then?
It's concerning. It's concerning. Is it incompetence? It's concerning. Is it corruption? At what level is the fact that it was ignored, and then when it was learned about, that nothing is being done about it to fix it? And so
she's calling on ERB Executive Director Jan Goodwin to step up. She's also questioning why no one was told last year about any of this.
Obviously, when you stop making payments for 3 months of interest, you have recognized a problem. You're just hoping that it doesn't come out and doesn't become public.
Lauren Zakalik, KOAT, Action 7 News. Doug, Shelley, Jeff Riggs was the ERB's deputy director at the time. Now, he's the one who shut down the system, his gut telling him something wasn't right. So why didn't he go back, look at the overpayments, and fix things? He says he was never asked to. The signs something was wrong were everywhere. Employee complaints, bloated interest checks, even this internal email sent last July indicating interest payments to former public school employees were unusually high. So high, in fact, the ERB shut down the interest payment system for 3 months.
I thought as part of that exercise they were going to go and recalculate all of the July and August checks to see which ones, if any, were incorrect. That didn't happen in the fall the way I had been told it was going to happen.
Head of the ERB, Jan Goodwin, says it was Jeff Riggs' job to recalculate the checks, but Riggs says that's news to him. He wouldn't go on camera, but tells Target 7 they never told me or anyone else to look back at the checks. Riggs says he reported problems to his bosses, but nothing changed, so he shut down the system in August. He says, I needed to stop the bleeding. I was convinced something was wrong. The ERB claims all this is stemming from a system glitch that apparently happened after they changed the way they calculate interest. Riggs questions that, too, and says, I'm not convinced it was a computer glitch. I think they just didn't think it through well enough. Goodwin maintains it's not her fault that no one looked back at the checks. Now they're auditing nearly 800 of them after paying out possibly millions of dollars they shouldn't have.
What could you guys have done differently?
Well, if people had done their jobs the way they had told us they were doing them, this all would have been taken care of and have been a non-issue.
Today, Goodwin tells me she won't be giving us updates anymore on the audits. We're going to have to wait until they're all finished to find out just how much money the ERB mistakenly paid out. For Target 7, I'm Lauren Zakalik. It's being called a human error. The system that calculates interest payments to public school retirees, we've learned, is, well, not calculating things right at all.
I'm very frustrated because I take great pride in the work that our people do and the services that we provide to our members, so we want to make sure that everything's right.
Target 7 discovered the Educational Retirement Board decided last week to stop all interest payments, a necessary move, they say, after finding checks written for negative amounts. This information only shared with us after we prodded the agency.
We're working as hard as we can with some very good people to get everything resolved as quickly.
This mistake is just piling onto a growing list of problems at the state agency, problems Target 7 uncovered, starting with 2 months last year of overpayments, possibly in the millions, and the ERB never tried to get that money back. After that, we revealed they'd shut down the system for 3 months and told no one. Governor Martinez wondering why so many mistakes and why only now are they dealing with it.
Not now, in the month of May, so many months down the road, who has been continuously underpaid or overpaid?
I did speak today with ERB Chairwoman Mary Lou Cameron. She says she was aware this time around that the system was shut down. She says they're not trying to hide anything. They're just trying to get things done as quickly as possible. In the meantime, they tell me they'll be looking at every single interest check sent out this year to make sure there weren't more mistakes. For Target 7, I'm Lauren Zakalik.
The numbers here on this page become a scarlet letter for the Educational Retirement Board. Almost $1.7 million in interest payments that never should have been sent out. In total, 708 checks issued between July and August 2010. Checks ranging from pennies to more than $300,000.
We first want to apologize for the unintentional error, and we are making every effort to correct this as soon as possible.
Target 7 has been telling you about these overpayments for weeks. The ERB now blames a computer glitch. Not good enough for some board members.
I think it's unacceptable.
How can 700 people get the wrong calculation? That is inexcusable.
The ERB's legal counsel says part of the problem was a lack of oversight.
We knew there were errors made in July and August. We did not know the checks had not been audited until the end of April.
Which sounds a lot less like just a computer glitch to the state treasurer.
There is always the possibility of human error. And when people make a mistake, we have to admit that the mistake has been made, and then we have to recoup the funds.
The ERB plans to fight to get the money back, making phone calls, issuing letters, and, if necessary, calling a collection agency. Even litigation is possible, which could wind up costing the ERB more than it's worth. The larger issue, though, is making sure a $1 million glitch doesn't happen again.
What is our sense of urgency? Let's have a plan, let's get it out there, and let's be transparent and accountable.
Whether it's the financial crunch of Christmas time or people just refusing to pay, the ERB has had a slow time getting members to give back the $1.7 million the agency mistakenly sent them last year.
It was Target 7 that first exposed the massive mistake. Nearly 700 New Mexicans received bloated interest checks, some for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yet the agency never told them nor asked for the money back until our investigation. According to ERB paperwork, to date, they've received about $580,000 back. That means they've only collected about $14,000 since October when we last checked in. With interest, that leaves $1.15 million of education employees' retirement money that is in the wrong hands. Close to $500,000 of that money needs to be returned by just 2 people.
Now the question is, at what point does the ERB take legal action to get the remaining $1.1 million back? Well, the ERB executive director will only say that legal action is being discussed, but for now, they'll simply continue to ask for the money back. For Target 7, I'm Lauren Zakalik.